God damn it. Too many concurrent sessions. Try closing other recording software that might be using NVENC, such as NVIDIA Shadow Player, Windows Game DVR. I'm not using either of those. Weird.
Close your streams.
I
What?
yeah, apparently. In any case, we're back. We're back with another
Uh,
episode of Loose Canon, and this week we are on Titan. We are talking about Season of the Deep, and a little more than just Season of the Deep, because we are also going to be talking about Bungie's reveals recently.
yeah, that's the big buzz.
Yeah.
Everybody's pumped up.
Forgot to do that before we started. Sorry about that. Yeah, so how so there's really only the one story, right? Like
Yeah.
which how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the seasonal method now that we're like in it
Okay.
for the third year, I guess?
Yeah, man. It just like every time you say that, it just makes me feel like, oh my God, I've been playing this game forever.
Yeah, it's been over 10 years, or it's going on 10 years like of
I
play.
don't. I mean, that's fine. Time flies, obviously. But I guess in the scope of time you and I have in this podcast, and then time playing the game, and then time as reality and
Mhm.
doing your day to day,
Mhm.
they're all like, to me, they're all just compartmentalized different worlds. And for some reason the timeline for Destiny, it seems like it wasn't even, I don't know, 6 months ago we were playing D1, just in my mind.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's a lot of gaps.
every
Like I forget like the big one that people would probably say is like they forget like Shadowkeep. They forget what they did during Shadowkeep.
yeah,
I forget what I was doing during Forsaken, and that's when I was like going really hardcore in the game.
yeah.
Like I was going for everything back then.
I so like that's probably my biggest upset with Destiny as a community was when Forsaken came out, because Forsaken had some of the most content we had ever seen in the
Yep.
entire timeline of Destiny, and so few content creators and community people were involved with it. I know there were many people like you were, but as far as like heavily covered, diving into the lore, really
Mhm.
getting into the minutia of the game, it was very lackluster. In comparison to how much we had,
Mhm.
it was like Bungie gifted us with this immense amount of content, and it was barely being covered. I mean, people to this day go, "Wow, that happened in Forsaken." And sometimes I bring up stuff from Forsaken, and they're like, "Wait, when did that happen?" I'm like, "That was Forsaken."
Yeah.
You know?
It is, and you know, it was something that I didn't really care about, but like as time goes on, I'm starting to care about it more. Removing the content is kind of lame. Where it's like
Yeah,
I do want to be able to go back and experience that stuff because I
yeah,
like half remember it, and it's just like, well, I hope there's a YouTube video because if there
uh
isn't,
huh,
like it's
yeah,
gone.
yeah. We talked about that last episode a little bit about how
Yeah,
some of
Destiny
this
lore
stuff.
vault.
Yeah, yeah. DMCA strikes and
Hmm.
all these things that are threatening the archives that we have for all of this
Yeah.
stuff. Like I couldn't imagine. I have backups of everything that I've defined as far as like Destiny Army defined is concerned, but
Hmm.
I couldn't imagine if I lost all that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, and I
it
think a big
just
part of it is just how my brain operates. Like it might just be a me thing. Uh like I noticed this recently. For example, I read a lot of comics digitally on the Comixology app, and so I
yeah,
borrow comics, and that's like their free term for it. You borrow a comic, and then you return it when you're done borrowing it, and then you have no record of what you've read. And I'm like,
yeah.
wait, what did I read? Did I? And I'm like, what were the stories that I enjoyed so much? And I was like, can't for the life of me fucking remember a single one. I'm like, I try to list them off. Someone asked me, and they're like, "Oh, what are you reading?" I'm like,
Well,
uh, I
I
can only tell
I
you the
I
one I'm
can
reading right now. Everything else is
I
gone.
can I can feel for you. Other than the fact that I do have like there is places that have source material that I can go to, but since this announcement of marathon, all these people have been like, wait, what is this? What is this? And like, and I remember it all, and but because there's so many fragmented parts of marathon lore and how did the game work and stuff like that. I've amalgamated it all into one big block of memory. So I people ask me like, what is Durandal? What does he do? Or what is Leela? Or wait, what did Marathon 2, when did that take place in comparison to Marathon 1994? And I'm just like, oh my God, I don't remember.
Yeah. So, okay, so I have a marathon, the marathon image on screen right now. It's
Yeah,
it's of the woman with what I imagine is a sniper rifle with
yeah,
a lot of like what is it called? Like safety reflective yellow.
yes,
So is
yeah.
is that a
Okay,
woman? Is that an android? Is that a full-on robot? Like
I don't know. Like, okay, so people are big into marathon lore, and so I'm not. Let me just preface all of this. I am not the expert. you
okay.
know, I didn't even.
You did a little dive into it. You're like, this is cool, and you got out of the pool.
So I played marathon, and but I didn't get into the lore back then because I didn't care
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
Like early days of Halo, even Halo 3. The story I loved it. Halo Reach was probably the first time I actually delved into any Bungie story. And then, of course, I became obsessed with Destiny. But that being said, I do know enough about Marathon to say what I could say, but I'm not the expert. So I might not get the terminology correct. I might not get the very minor things correct.
Hmm.
So forgive me. But um, I know what's going on here, and I do have enough of a concept and a grasp of what's going on to kind of piece together what they're doing or what's going to happen. So, what you're looking at, so if you can imagine this world of marathon, they've figured out a way to basically supplant a consciousness into an almost like android type of body, if you can call them that. But I guess the closest concept we would have to them in real life or in any other kind of sci-fi is you have an android and you can transfer your consciousness into that body, and that body carries you and you are the player. And so it's really kind of this neat dichotomy of how you play a PvP game in the first place, because you think about yourself playing as that character. You're in your body having the controls, but if you think about it, you're actually inside that character, manipulating their hand movements, looking around the world. So it's really kind of neat just to play with that, right?
So
So I
so
think that's kind of where they're trying to go.
that's a really cool concept. Does that mean that I can play as a worm wearing an Oculus Rift?
So this is one of those kind of abstract concepts where they called it on the live Vidoc, they called it graphic realism is what they call this design, or this um,
Wait,
what
that
would you call
worm's
it,
got a
aesthetic.
QR code. Has anyone scanned that
Yeah,
QR code?
yeah. It pulls up an ARG page.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, there are a lot of little hints to content. They're not really hints, they're just like more teasers. It's kind of like the drink more Ovaltine.
Oh, okay, okay.
So you scan things and it takes you to a page that is, encrypted, and then these people have like code breakers have broken the code, and it opens up a page, and the page is just like a bunch of cool wallpapers and gifs for Marathon.
Yeah. So, I
So
don't know if you knew this, but I don't want to overreach and call him a friend of the show,
yeah,
but he was on the show. So, past guest of the show, John Goff, who has written
yes,
many fantastic lore books, is actually
yeah.
the I think he's the narrative lead. Let me get the exact title right.
Yeah, I think he's definitely on the narrative team.
Yeah, he is the narrative
I
lead
couldn't
for
imagine
the
him not
marathon
being a
game.
lead. Yeah, okay.
Um,
So he is a lead.
yeah, he's the narrative lead for marathon,
Okay.
which is very exciting. He's a fantastic writer. That makes me
Yeah.
more excited because if it was just a PvP game, it's like, well, I don't really care that much about PvP. But if it's like if it's got an
Right.
interesting story and they're gonna tell it in an interesting way, then I might check it out. At the very least, I'll follow
Yeah.
along. Like,
Yeah. John got so when they were showing the Vidoc of, the what is marathon, I saw
uh-huh.
him standing in one of the cutscenes, like in the background, standing with the other guys. I was like, oh shit,
Oh
John is
yeah,
in
I didn't
there.
even
Like he
notice.
didn't formally announce it, and I was like, oh fuck, he's right there.
I
I
gotta
was
go
so
back and
happy.
watch that.
Yeah, so it was just kind of neat. You can see it's so funny because John's been in a lot of content that people don't know about. Like he was even in the Todd McFarlane Vidoc movie that was on Sci-Fi about Spawn and
That's
the life
great.
of Todd McFarlane. Yeah, so he was even there because he helped write a lot of the comic stuff for that. And so like I feel as far as people go in our community, John really deserves a big praise for a lot of what's happened. Obviously, and he's an amazing writer, he's an amazing person, and I just can't say enough good things about John as a whole.
He's a great guy.
He does have a pretty good twisted sense of humor, and he can get really dark in the lore sometimes. That's why every time I
Yeah.
read something that's kind of like vicious or violent, I'm like, John, was that you?
What was that old animated thing? Uh that old animated movie, was it Heavy Metal?
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever I read something and I'm like, man, this feels like it came right out of Heavy Metal, and it's like it's gotta be John Goff. That's
Yeah.
absolutely who wrote this entry.
Yeah, yeah, and so, and not to label him as like a dark, horror writer. He does a lot more dynamic range too. Like
Yeah,
if you think about Forsaken as a whole, with all of the bandits, and that we had to fight, and the Fallen, and all the badasses, he wrote a lot of that.
yeah.
So he was responsible for a lot of the cowboy isms,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the Western, sci-fi. That's John
Yeah.
also. So he's really good at presenting the world in kind of like a slang way. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if a proper term exists for this, but there's a way of writing that really kind of pronounces things and shows dialect when you're reading. And he has a really good job. He does a really good job of giving people a dialect in a written way, so that
Mm-hmm.
when you're reading as a fallen, you really feel like you've adopted their way of speaking. Or if you're reading as a cowboy, you really have an introspection as to how they speak. Jaron Ward, perfect example. The last word, all of that. Thorn, that's him. So there you go. When you read that stuff, you really have a real good grasp of how they spoke, and how that westernized sci-fi world was. So that's
Yeah.
one of his many talents. I'm really excited to see what he does with Marathon. I know that as far as Marathon goes, that's Chris Barrett's baby. Chris Barrett
Oh,
is,
really?
yeah, that's his
Huh.
that's his baby. So Marathon is all him for the most part. And so if you've been wondering what CG Barrett on Twitter has been doing for the last 3 years, and why he's been so quiet, and whenever people ask him about Destiny, and he's like, I don't work on Destiny right now. This is what he's been working on.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's really awesome to see him. And then, of course, there's many other major people from Bungie that are with him on that team, and
Mm-hmm.
they have an all-star crew. I know it's going to be a PvP focused game. I would say that if that's your jam, by all means. If not, I
Yeah.
would say at least try it out.
Especially if
Um,
I really hope there's a beta or a demo or something that you can just
yeah,
kind of like jump in, see what it's about, and be like, "I, it's not for me," and that's fine. It might not
yeah.
be for everyone.
if I could compare it to anything, I play Halo a lot, and Halo is a very PvP
Hmm.
centric type of game, and it has a lot of different modes. And Halo is
Yeah.
very polished; it's been around forever. But because of Bungie, they have really defined what they consider, and what they even said in the Vidoc is the Bungie feel, like
Yeah.
the play style. So when you're playing Destiny, that first person shooter first
Yep.
type of gameplay is what they're known for. That fluid, smooth
Yep.
runner movement. That's them. That's them too. I mean, even in Marathon, they were groundbreaking developers when they created that game, because the movement in Marathon was far different from like Doom and other
Hmm.
little, scroller type of first person shooter games where you could fly around the map, and what they call drifting back in the day. So like you know, one of the most annoying things about those types of walking through a labyrinth type of old style game is the fact that it takes so long to get from point A to B.
Hmm.
Um, but in Marathon, you fly around the map. You can't jump or reload, but anyway,
Yeah.
that was
No,
pretty
sounds
groundbreaking
that
back in the
sounds really
day.
cool. I think, especially when it's a game that's like so heavily focused on the PvP, the most important thing is how the gunplay feels, and Bungie has really
Yeah,
nailed that. Like I know a lot of people probably say like, oh, Bungie can't balance Destiny, things like that. And it's like, but when you think about how many fucking weapons are in the game, and the fact
yeah,
that
it's
they're trying
insane.
to make fun, overpowered weapons for PvE, it's like the fact that it's even like kind of balanced
Yeah,
is impressive.
yeah. I mean, I was playing D1 last week just to feel what it felt like again, and it's great. I love
Yeah.
D1 as a whole. It sucks that you can't clamber, and it sucks that it
Oh,
takes longer for certain things to come up. But those super moments in the PvP in D1 really felt like super moments. Now I can't say that, because
mm,
now it's really, a lot of people tune their stuff to just give them the fastest, most strength, fastest super they can get, and la 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 la. And those supers come about, and they just happen constantly. So it doesn't really feel like a moment in the game in PvP anymore.
yeah.
But I will say this: everybody hated it when D2 first came out, and the PvP was really, air quotes, balanced.
Yeah.
People hated it, lost their mind, because those super moments from D1 were gone, and
Yeah.
people just were really mad, in a bad place. But in retrospect, I really feel like that was the most balanced PvP ever had been for Bungie.
Yeah. I've heard that from a number of people. And I mean, of course it
Yeah,
is. They stripped the individuality away. And I mean, I'm
yeah,
sure Marathon will have its own individuality, but it'll probably be more in a like, um, here's your gun, here's your attachment for your gun, like things
yes,
like that,
yeah,
which seems to be
yeah,
the more favored style right now, where it's like
yeah,
you only have 30 guns. You don't have 100, 1,000 weapons, unique weapons,
yeah,
each with their own 30 perk pool. Like the
yeah. It's
numbers are
insane.
insane. So
Yeah. I
I
mean, it's
really
just
hope
like,
there's a demo. I'd love to check it out.
how much sand can you put on it before you've buried yourself? Like,
Yeah.
and every season, people are like, "Oh crap, more of the same." More reskins, or like, "Oh, we already had this." And I'm just like, "Bro, how much more do you need? There's
Yeah.
already a ton in here."
As if I'm gonna take away the weapons I already love. Like they're not coming
Yeah,
off my character. Like
yeah,
you show me, they show
exactly.
me all these new weapons, and I'm like, okay, but is it better than my Unforgiven and my Callus mini tool? Like I know those are
Yeah,
relatively new weapons at the same time, but it's just like it takes a lot for me to be like, I'm
yeah,
gonna put this down and pick this up.
yeah. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to ruin this show and turn it into a marathon show. So,
Yeah. So you want
but
to
I
do
will say
the lore
this.
card?
Yeah, let's do the lore card. Let's get into the lore card. Uh, this one is a very heavy lore card, and I would like to say to everyone listening, all two of you guys out there. No. I would like to say that if you have read the lore entry on this one, get prepared to have your brain blown. Um, First of all, let's start with the fact that this lore entry for this item has to do with the Titan you saw get, or that was smushed up at the beginning of the season. So his name is Joxer. He is mentioned in the lore before,
That was
and
Joxer?
that was Joxer.
Oh no.
So Joxer is dead. He tried to go into the big triangle that is in front of the Traveler, the big pink triangle. And this was the attempt he had. Him and his ghost tried to attempt to go onto the other side, or whatever that is, the realm of whatever. And in doing so, was just, I don't know what you would call this, but it looks horrific. But their mangled body that's like half segmented, and it almost looks like it would be stuck in stone, but there's no stone, it's just nothingness. It's
Yeah.
really creepy looking. Yeah, so poor Joxer. So real quick, just to give you a summary, I don't want to spoil it, but just to give you a summary, Joxer is basically saying, hey, we're going to go take this hawk and we're going to fly it into that big pink triangle, and this is how we're going to get there. We've been preparing, and it didn't work. So read that lore entry because it's pretty good, but I don't want to spoil it for everyone. So I will talk about this lore entry, or this lore card, though, because this lore card will blow your brain into the fact, or in the way that it did for me, because it explains that pink triangle that you're looking at. And
Can
this
we
is this is a really good one, because if you don't already know what this is a really cool thing. It's
are
called
you
the
are we not
Aka-
going to talk about this lore I hadn't read it until just now. Are we not going to talk
Do
about
you want
this
to read
lore
it? Yeah,
entry?
let's go ahead and read it. Go ahead and read it.
Oh
Do you want to
my
just do it?
god. Okay,
Do you
so
want to
it's
read it?
yeah, I'll read it. So how do you pronounce
Okay.
this? Akashic revelation?
Yeah, it's Akashic.
Akashic?
Yeah,
Okay.
however you want it. It depends on what side of the globe you're on.
So as Rhino like summarized, it's Joxer trying to go into the light triangle that has appeared. People say that it's not actually on the Traveler, it's just in front of the Traveler. I don't know how accurate that is, but you know
Yeah,
what we're
who
talking
knows?
about when we say it.
Yeah,
If it goes wrong, we saw what happened. What we didn't see is what he actually experienced. So this is what he
right.
actually experienced. Rosy light bathes the cockpit of the Hawk, moving at a cruising speed high above the Earth. Up ahead, the traveler hangs motionless against the blackness of space, a triangular gateway of iridescent light bleeding from its shell. It was one thing volunteering for this mission, but sitting now on the precipice of the unknown, the Titan, Joxer, holds doubt close to his chest. This isn't any different from the Ahamkara hunts, his ghost reassures, recklessly hasty and dangerous. Joxer glances over at his ghost and smiles, already feeling better. Two Cabal escorts on either side of Joxer's Hawk stall their engines, letting the Hawk proceed forward toward the traveler. They say something over the comms in Ularenth. The translation roughly means, beyond the known is the terror of the universe. His ghost offers Joxer's not his ghost offers. Joxer's not sure if it's a warning, a curse, or a prep talk. Knowing the Cabal, it's all three. Easing the flight stick forward, Joxer moves the Hawk ahead at a steady pace. His ghost's eye widens as the rosy light from the portal brightens and the kaleidoscopic surface is all that can be seen in any direction. Joxer's grip on the controls tightens as he feels bone-deep sense of vertigo, echoes of piano notes tinkling in his periphery. He can feel hands on his chest beneath his armor, breath against his cheek inside his helmet. Eric, come back to bed, a voice whispers in his mind. He sees a city, a home, family, and children. He can't sleep. They are alone in the universe. The Ares project is going to. His ghost is screaming, shell coming apart at the seams. Joxer pulls himself back to reality and jerks the controls as the nose of the hawk touches the portal. He hears laughter, screams, feels lips on his cheek, hands on his shoulders as the ship begins to pass through. His ghost screams, stretches from the moment of the Big Bang to the heat death of the universe. Joxer hears a scream he will make as his ship begins and ends. Come back to bed. He catches up to the scream.
Yeah, it's a good one. I really love the way that was written out.
This is the perfect one to have because we're going to be talking about the final shape trailer as well.
Yeah,
So let's
yeah.
finish the lore card and then we can get into the final shape trailer because that is
Okay.
fucking insane to me.
All right. So I just want to point out real quick two things that happened in that entry. One of them being the moment of the Big Bang and the heat death of the universe. That's illustrating the beginning and the ending, right,
Yeah,
of the
we end
universe.
at the beginning. Yeah, yeah.
Right. Joxer hears a scream he will make as his ship begins and ends. And then you get two things. Come back to bed, and he catches up to the scream. So those are signifying two moments in his life, one being a core memory, probably one of his first, and then the last one where he, I don't know if you can call it dies, but his final moment. And it's really eerie and it's really like gut wrenching because there's this, there was this arrogance, or not arrogance, there was this confidence that they had, and then it was just flayed apart and stripped clean, degloved from them. It was very sad, but also good because it's a good lore entry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so getting into the lore entry. So here's the funny thing is, I read that lore entry first because when the new content comes out, I'm crazy and I have to go and read everything. So I read that one. I was like, oh no, this has to be the lore card for this week.
I need to be better about doing that again. Ever since everything's been like
Yeah,
slowly introduced during the season, I've lost that I need it now. I need to read it all
immediacy.
now because I just know it's
Yeah.
not all there.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. If history has taught me anything with this game, it's moments like that that you should actually force yourself to do it because that's
Yeah.
when the most crazy stuff happens like this.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, you're not wrong.
and because they know when there's a lull and they know when they're quiet and they know when they're whispering and you should be paying attention because everybody's listening when they're yelling but nobody's listening when they're whispering, and if you don't listen when they whisper, you're missing some of the most crazy stuff. And I say crazy like good, in a good way. So anyway,
Yeah, 39 entries. That's not a lot of reading.
yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it's not bad other than the fact that all the entries have really not a lot to do with each other and they're kind of like brain breaking.
Mm.
But so, okay, so this one, so the pink triangle, what is it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened to Joxer? Uh, there's this moment where he experiences everything all at once within his life. It's kind of like when you hear that saying, your life flashed before you, before your very own eyes. I almost died and I saw visions of myself when I was a kid and my family, and things like that happen, right? We've all heard these expressions of like the moment when you escape death or when you almost died, or like you see near death experiences, stuff like that. Well, Joxer is gone and he kind of saw himself as a kid at one time. And so this concept is very, 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 very old. Um, and the reason the ship is called Akashic Revelation is because they're talking about this concept in a way. Um, the flavor text is we end at the beginning, right? So there you go. Same idea of what you just read. We end at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. So it's a circular movement to life, but not even really that. So the Akashic records it's a spiritual concept used to explain a revelation or the unveiling of hidden knowledge and wisdom. The concept states that the universe is made up of an energetic field that contains all the information and experiences that have ever happened or will happen. that's a big thing to wrap your mind around, especially
Yeah.
early in the morning. Um, the Akashic records are a spiritual concept that has been used for centuries to explain the idea of a revelation or an unveiling of hidden knowledge and wisdom. But essentially, the concept states that the universe is made up of an energetic field that contains all the information and experiences that will ever happen or will happen. Um, a field known as the Akashic records can be accessed by those who have a deep spiritual or meditative practice. The idea of Akashic records comes from the ancient Hindu and Buddhist texts, which describe a universal field or etheric substance responsible for all things in existence. This field is said to be made up of infinite energy, and it connects all beings, living or dead. Within this field, every action, thought, and emotion is recorded, meaning that every human being's life experiences are stored within it. The meaning of revelation is an act of uncovering or revealing something that was previously hidden or unknown. And so, revelation in a spiritual context can refer to the awakening of a consciousness or a realization of a hidden truth, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they're playing with those two things. There's Akashic and then revelation. Um, Within the Akashic records, revelation occurs when those accessing the records gain insight and understanding about themselves or the world around them. This can happen in many ways. Some experience revelations through meditation, while others access the records through dreams or intuition. Accessing the Akashic records is said to require a deep level of spiritual practice and openness to experiencing revelations. Those who do access the records often find that the information they receive is transformative and life changing as they gain a newfound understanding of themselves and the place in the world. Um, in many ways, this personal belief that each individual must explore for themselves, whether or not one accepts this concept, there's sort of a transformative power that comes from accessing hidden knowledge and understanding more about themselves and the world around us. So, taking a lot of the belief, out of it, it's a very old concept, and this happens a lot in theologies and even religions and ways of life where they ascribe terminology and bring it to you in a way that is the most the most informative way of allowing you to understand something that is a high-minded concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the Akashic Records does this thing where it kind of tells you, hey, the entire universe around you is recorded, has always been there, will always be there. And so anything that happened yesterday, today, and tomorrow is already done. And you can access all of that within that record.
Mm-hmm.
So the Big Bang to the final heat death of the universe, which is called entropy, uh, there is recorded information for all of that, and it's already happened, and it hasn't happened at the same time.
You know what I
So
never realized until you just said it like that? The Traveler's the Big Bang and the Witness is entropy.
yeah, I guess so.
Like they're the beginning and the end. Like because there's so many like ways to look at the Traveler and the Witness. They're the gardener and the winnower and things like that. They're the light and the dark. They're the beginning and the end.
Yeah,
It's never clicked in my mind until that. It's like so obvious. It's not like relevate a revelation or anything. It's just like another dichotomy of them.
yeah. There you go. That's a good way of illustrating it. It's one of those. It's one of those things we get wrapped up in symbolism and what we know and can define and labels based on our own life experiences when dealing with these. And I love to call them high-minded concepts
Mm-hmm.
because they can be abstract if you don't pay attention. But when you get into it and relate it to everything that you've learned or any kind of knowledge you've attained in your life, you really can kind of come up with this personal idea of what that means for you. And I think that's important for everybody who reads, listens or just it absorbs information, it's
Mm-hmm.
really important for you to come up with what does that mean for you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it can mean anything, right? And if you listen closely enough, or if you absorb the information in a way with a lot of openness, you will come up with a very good understanding of what you're seeing. And the more information you get from other things will always help you as you learn new things. So that being said, when we saw the pink triangle in
Mm-hmm.
behind, uh, or in front of, in behind, I don't know. Um, I think this is a really good explanation as to what you're looking at. So if you want to talk about the trailer
Oh yeah, yeah. You ready for that?
for for Final Shape, I think it
Okay.
goes really good with this.
So we wanted to have what we used to do on the show for like live viewing is we would just like open the YouTube and screen share the YouTube on for the stream. That's not a thing anymore. Just because it's a black screen, which is very disappointing. So here is just an image of it, the final image after the conversation. So I will just run down what happens in this trailer. I'm sure everyone knows it. It's a teaser more than it is a trailer because it's only 30
Yeah.
seconds. Ikora conversation. So much has happened. We fought gods. We teamed up with people who were our enemies. We fought some more gods. Like, and
Yeah.
then it pans to Cade, and Cade has his ace of spades and it has a glow on it. And I don't recall, is that the glow it gets when you get Memento Mori? Because I know it gets a glow.
No, this one's different. It's more like a crackled glow. And here's something
Like
that
from the
happened to
Traveler's
me.
Chosen sidearm, right?
Yeah. So this crackle glow is very reminiscent of. Do you remember Helm of Inmost Light?
Yeah, yeah, that's another one. That's another good one of it.
Yeah.
I wish I could have taken a screenshot of it.
Yeah, it's
That
okay.
kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah. Well, there's also a chest of Inmost Light now.
Yeah. Oh no
So
no
you
no
can
not
see
not
that.
not Helm or chest. I can pull up that. That's easy.
Okay. Okay. Uh, Yeah, so I know. Like his sidearm, or I mean, his hand cannon has that crackled, cracking look where like light is trying to escape it. There are a couple of theories I've heard. One being, oh, he turned Sundance into his gun moments before he died, and that's why he's still alive.
I
uh,
I, I do not
yeah, I
care for
know,
that.
I know, and I've also heard that his light was hidden inside of his gun, his Ace of Spades.
So
So he hid his inmost light inside of his own hand cannon. Yeah, that kind of crackle. This doesn't have the effect on it, obviously, because it's a static page. But
yeah,
if you look at that now in game, it has the light kind of bleeding out of it.
it is a very similar crackle that Cade has on his Ace of
Yeah,
Spades. More importantly,
yeah,
though, in this we see that Ikora has Ophiuchus, her ghost.
yeah, yeah.
Cade does not have Sundance.
Correct.
So I think that is a huge clue.
I
So
agree.
Ikora debriefs him on events, very just like quick debrief, and then he says, "I'm here now, wherever here is." So even Cade doesn't know where they are.
Right, right. And so this is where we get into the lore card that I just read.
Mm-hmm.
The pink triangle you can see is in the skybox
Mm-hmm.
skybox
As
of
opposed to being
what
on the
we
Traveler.
right. So a lot of the assumption is that this is inside the traveler or
Mm-hmm.
this is elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think elsewhere is a much better way to describe where this is, because
Yeah.
I don't want to say that everything in the universe is inside the traveler or that even the pink triangle is on the traveler. I want to say more, in my mind, I want to say more that the triangle is in front of the traveler and it is an access point for all things everywhere all at once. And so this pink triangle represents the universe. The veil was very much a conduit to allow the witness to transfer into the everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
And if you even look at the veil at the top of the veil, it has been described as the incomprehensible. Uh, it's a visual representation of the incomprehensible shape of the universe. So if you look down at the veil when you're in those missions and you're lucky enough to actually look at the floor or whatever you're looking at, you can see how it has all the really cool looking design that swirls and stuff. So that veil is a conduit that allows you to, uh, I guess, get to the everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
And so, in my mind, this represents a place that is in the everything everywhere all at once. Is that? I guess that's just what I'm going to start calling it now.
Yeah. And I get it. So if everyone recalls, when Callus was failing to get the veil, the witness was getting very mad and mentioned that the veil is key to achieving the final shape. And once the veil is obtained, this triangle is formed. So
Correct.
I think you're really onto something. If the final shape that the witness desires is supposed to be like an entropy, the heat death of the universe, this is everything colliding at once, just like Jonkzer experienced as they entered this triangle, where
Exactly.
they saw their life from an early moment, their life in the middle before they were a guardian, and they were working on the
Yeah.
Ares project, which is a huge like thing. The fact that
What the fuck
they
moment?
were on the
Yeah.
team that was
Yeah.
making contact with the traveler, and then they died and became a guardian. Like that's amazing on its own.
Yeah. So that's a what
And
the fuck moment.
yeah, and then ultimately to the point. I would even go so far, not just to say to the point of his death, but to the point beyond his death. Like he was
Exactly.
hearing to this point.
So that's why I preface that with saying if we could even say Joxer actually died, right?
Yeah,
Because what's to say
he
that
just
he
fast
didn't just
forward to the
leave?
end.
There you go. Like he didn't just shed his mortal coil and become one with the everything everywhere all at once,
Yeah,
right? So somewhere in this triangle there is a pocket, and this pocket is it was accessed by Ikora, no doubt, and she has her ghost. So Ikora is very smart. I mean, she
hmm
wrote on circles, right?
hmm
And then decided that that was all BS and we need to scrap it. So even in the
yeah,
lore, she is so smart to even know that her old writings that she founded, that was the foundation for what they could understand their universe, she had to scrap it all because she had more information that taught her even more about everything. So Ikora as a character is very cool because she's the most onto something out of everybody in the game, and it's not necessarily out of a place of like how Osiris is just very arrogant and almost hubris like, where he just goes out and he's like, I must.
yeah,
She's more like doubtful, skeptic, very, but it's from this history of being a lot like Osiris is now, where she
yeah,
was very iconoclastic and had to brute force everything and headbutted the world around her. Um, because we know about her early developmental lore of when she was young, she was, a crucible badass, and she would just like throw herself at everything. And then through the speaker, she learned a new way. And through the mentorship of her leaders and Zavala being a side by side with her, she learned to be more reserved and respectful around her environment, and to know when to put herself in a position at its, I don't know, when it's necessary, right?
yeah.
Uh, so that being said, I really think that Ikora figured out something and is here for a reason because she knows how to get here.
Yeah, so
Uh,
for anyone who didn't know, Ikora wrote 12 volumes called like On Circles, volumes 1 through 12, and after the events of Season of Arrivals, I believe it should be.
yeah, yeah.
Well, that's weird because it says it's from this comes from Vesper Radius, which is from Curse of Osiris.
Vesper of Radius, yeah.
So I just because so at the end of the entry she says how I have to rewrite it all 12 volumes. Dare I ask why? The traveler is alive. I've heard. So our physics framework has oh, this is after uh D2 vanilla where it bursted out after after it bursted out from Gaul's attack. And so
Yeah. Well,
even about like circles, Ikora turns to Chalco in the eye, especially about circles. So yeah, she wrote a whole fucking lot about circles.
yeah. So she was on the wrong shape.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think she still thinks it's that circles are very important.
Sure. But maybe more of like a concentric circle. I don't know.
Yeah.
We have triangles now, right? Pyramids, triangles, all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's fun how Bungie likes to play with all of these all these little things, like pyramids and triangles and the hexadecimal. What is it? The dodecahedrons,
Yeah.
and then yeah, it's just funny. So all these different shapes and they're polygons and whatnot, and it for me it's really funny because this whole game is it's a video game and everything in the universe of Destiny is built on polygons. So if you can think about it from a 3D perspective as somebody who manipulates 3D tools such as Blender, which is a new thing that came up on anyway, uh, there the I mean all the people, the guns, the weapons, everything is built on polygons, just represented in a 3D imaging tool.
Hmm.
So it's funny to me that like this entire world is built on all these shapes and whatnot, but it's almost like they're just playing around and being comical about the fact that it's a 3D environment in a video game.
Yeah. So then
So
let's get back to this final shape
yep,
landscape that we have. So
yeah,
so we have Cade. We have Cade
yep,
without Sundance. We have Ikora
right,
with Ophiuchus, and
right.
they have the pink triangle. So I really like what you said about it not actually being like this is the other side of the traveler, but like this is the other side of the pink triangle. Like
Yes, there you go.
this is the everything everywhere all at once. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of something new. This is the witness trying to make the game how they want it to be. Again, they
That's
are
a
the
good
final
one. I
shape.
like
Everything
that.
that comes
I never thought
after
of that.
will be through the
Yeah,
witness's vision.
yeah,
Because that's what
there you
Oryx
go.
wanted, right? Like that's what Oryx would
That
always
is what
say.
Oryx wanted, but ultimately Oryx was, being led by, I guess the witness. So, yeah,
Let me see if I can find it quickly. So what I'm thinking is this is wherever Ikora and Cade are right now is in the after. It's in the after the witness wins. It's like not it's not actually a point in time. Um
right. Well, it's very pretty. I mean, it's got, waterfalls and a river. Some people immediately looked at it and just went, "Oh, that's Valhalla."
yeah.
Like this is the afterlife where you go when warriors die, and this is their peaceful, land of living. And I wanted to say that it was more than that. It's not just that. It's not any of that, really. It's everything, as the lore entry kind of alludes to.
Uh-huh.
Um, so, because the Akashic records and Jocks are trying to go into this pink triangle and then experiencing all of that. It's very much telling as to what is going on, because if you think about the pink triangle as accessing everything everywhere all at once, this is just one of many places.
Yeah.
And
So
this could be the beginning, this could be the end, this could be somewhere in between, this could be another place in between. And saying that makes my mind remember the very first trailer we had for Destiny when the Ares 1 team is walking on Mars and the terrain in the background in the skybox was morphing and changing. I
Hmm.
know people say that's just a visual stylization of the trailer to kind of give you a sense of airiness and coolness, but no, the background, the terrain, the environment was changing different shapes. It was almost as if they were telling you, hey, they've been here before many times, many ways, in many different capacities. It's just, you know, it's hard to pin that down and tell people that. So like they never did, they never bothered, um, you know, and maybe they're just going back to it. Maybe they never had an idea for it. Or maybe they just do. And but for me in my mind, I couldn't help but think that the Ares One team, how many times and how many ways and how many different alternate universes did they do that very same thing?
Mm.
Um, one of the things that happens in Destiny lore is we talk about how, well, I can't find it right now, but the ghost seemingly pulls your copy from somewhere else when you died and brings you back to life. It's like,
That's from No Rest for the Weary. If you wanted
oh,
to,
I love that one. I
yeah,
love that one. That's a great one. It just makes your mind go, what?
yeah,
Are
it
you
is a good
saying
one.
that our guardian just comes back to life from somewhere else in like another you from some other copy of you or what? But it's you. It's like what? Anyway, it's really cool.
Yeah, I think this is what I was looking for. Uh, so what I was saying is what I think this is the witness's like vision for the after. And so from 32 Majestic in the Books of Sorrow. It says, and if life is to live, if anything is to survive through the end of all things, it will live not by the smile, but by the sword, not in a soft place, but in a hard hell, not in the rotting bog of artificial paradise, but in the cold, hard, self verifying truth of that one ultimate arbiter, the only judge, the power that is its own metric and its own source, existence at any cost. Strip away the lies and truces and delaying tactics they call civilization, and this is what remains this beautiful shape. So I think like
Hmm.
that's kind of like what this is supposed to be like. A very there's it's very devoid of anything. It looks fresh, like it looks like something is ready to
Right.
form, but that there's no
It almost
life.
looks like it almost looks like what's his name from the Marvel universe when he snaps his fingers?
Thanos.
Yeah, it almost looks like Thanos is here.
Yeah. What it actually really makes me think of is it really reminds me of Death Stranding in that like first area where I never completed it. So maybe I have a misunderstanding of what's going on in Death Stranding, but it's
Hmm.
like the rainfall, they call it timefall. Uh
Yeah,
this like
Timefall
rain falls and it like
hurts you,
accelerates the process of like decay, and
dying.
this is what it looks
Yeah,
like.
living and dying. Yeah, that's interesting.
So I'm really intrigued at your thought of it's like the everything everywhere all at once type of thing. So it becomes a
Yeah,
question of how does Cade get there?
exactly. So that's my thing. Is like, okay, so Cade is there, but has he always been there? And is he just now knowing he's there, or is
Mm,
this just another Cade, or is this Cade? And he somehow circumvented his um in like I hate to sidebar
no,
this,
I just
but
had a stupid thought that I kind of hope is pans out.
okay, so here's something funny. Here's something funny about Cade Six. So Cade Six is voiced by a human who lives in real life named Nathan Fillion, and
Yeah,
Nathan Fillion is back. This is Nathan
yeah.
Fillion, not Nolan North, doing Cade Six. So let's get that out of the way. This is very much Nathan Fillion.
Mm-hmm.
However, something I know about Nathan Fillion, being a Bungie fan and being a fan of Nathan Fillion, when he was approached by 343 in the development of Halo 5. They said we would, or Nathan Fillion said, "Hey, I want to be in that new Halo game." And they said, "Sure, we definitely want you to be in here. Come on, this is great. We love you, Nathan Fillion. Come do it." He goes, "I'll do it, but uh under one condition." And they said, "Sure." He goes, "I want to be a Spartan." So they took his ODST character, which ODSTs are just Marines. I mean, of course, they're bigger people, badasses, whatever. But Spartans are huge. Spartans are like, they go through an augmentation process that creates Spartans. Like, to be a Spartan, you got to be a big mojo who goes through a bunch of stuff. Anyway, they made Nathan Fillion a Spartan basically on him saying, "I want to be a Spartan." And so they took an ODST character from the Halo universe and made him a Spartan. They even kept his ODST armor, but made it more Spartanified, if that's even a term. Like, they made it more like what a Spartan ODST would look like. And so I can't help but think that Nathan Fillion was like, "Dude, I'm coming back. I can't wait to come back. But if I come back, obviously I gotta be Cade 6, you know."
Yeah.
You gotta bring me back from the dead some way. Figure it out. I don't care.
So I didn't realize this is what they meant, but I have a clanmate. We were talking about this because no one in my clan is really excited at the idea of Cade 6 being revived, which I agree.
Yeah,
That'd be really lame if he's just like, I'm alive again
sure.
because we said so. Like that, I think there's a potential interesting story that they could do, and I really hope they do because I am excited to see him because it's like, what
Yeah,
does this mean? But you have to answer that question. So my clanmate said, and it agrees with you and now also me. I think the final shape is a singularity, full collapse of space and time. So in there, Cade exists because he's from a time before he got killed. And I didn't realize. I think this is what they were saying. I didn't realize it at the time of reading that because that was a couple days ago.
sure.
What if this Cade is actually like a past version of Cade who some fucking how ended up here.
Well,
I don't
okay,
know where the fuck
so
I am. Cora
okay,
shows up. All right, cool. You got me back home to my proper time. You know, like
yeah,
he comes back like just like fucking Elsie does. Like he comes back
yeah,
right
yeah,
after he
yeah,
killed Tanix. And he's like, "All right, I'm
exactly.
back. You won't believe where I was. I was in the future with you, and you saved me. And we were working with the Cabal, and they're just like, shut the fuck up, Kate. Like,
That's badass. You know what's funny
we don't
is,
believe a damn word you're saying."
do you remember in D2 when this is gonna bend some minds, so I'm just gonna say it because maybe some people are already listening and they've already thought this, but remember when Cade was on Nessus and he got stuck in uh the Vex
Yes.
thingy? There it is.
Oh my
Perfect
god.
back door. Perfect back door. Because remember, even in then, um, Failsafe was like, "Where are you?" And he was like, "I don't know. I'm somewhere else or somewhen." Because the Vex
Fuck.
have portals and ways to, get and access to other places. And now that we have homeboy Asher just chilling out in the Vex network, who's seemingly figured out a way to hack it, why not?
Yeah.
Maybe stuff
And
happens to you on that other side, kind of like what happened to Sloane when she, had an unfortunate event, you know, but maybe this version of Cade has a little bit of that darkness stuck on him, got stained by it or whatever.
yeah. I wonder
Who knows?
the other possibility, and I'll just throw this out there. I don't really necessarily think this is what's gonna happen, but like wherever this is, how how trusting are we going to be that it's Cade? Because
Yeah,
from what we understand, it is either impossible or at the very least very difficult for a guardian to harness the light without having a ghost. And Cade doesn't have
that's true.
Sundance. And
It's true.
so, yeah, so it's like, hey,
But
I'm Cade.
but
Oh, can you prove
yeah,
it with a golden gun? It's like, nah, Sundance is dead. I can't do that.
yeah, it's true. But also we do have those little back doors that Bungie wrote in the lore where transference of light had happened before. And we
Yeah.
also have those little
Wait,
things
wait,
of
wait, wait,
like,
wait, 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 wait. I disagreed without realizing what you just said. What are you telling me?
I'm not talking about full transference of light. I'm just talking about people giving their ghost away to other
No, we
people, other
don't.
individuals.
No, we do not. You tell me the fucking entry. No, we do not.
uh,
What's the entry?
remember, okay, so remember Thorn?
Yeah, I know the saga of Dwindler's Ridge. I know that's what
Yeah,
people love to fucking say. Jaren
yeah,
Ward, Shin
yeah,
Malphur had a ghost
yeah,
that revived him as a baby and died.
yeah,
Oh, so you're saying Jaren Ward's ghost was the key for Shin harnessing the light and
yes,
killing Dredgenyor?
yes.
I mostly disagree with you. And
That's
I
all I'm
say that
saying. It's like,
I
I'm
completely
just
disagree
saying,
with
like,
you. I just don't, there's just no
I know,
evidence to
and that's
back
okay.
either of us up.
That's okay because I don't either. But I'm just saying that is a back door that could be
It
explained.
is. You're right. You're right.
That's all I'm
It's not a
saying.
backdoor I fucking like though.
I know, me either. But that's the problem with really complicated, interconnected lore.
Yeah.
Is you have all of these possibilities and potentials that can happen, and a lot of the lore could just be, false
Yeah.
because we have to rely on characters in game and see things through their perspective, and then it could be explained that what they were seeing was completely wrong, like the entire Books of Sorrows.
Mm-hmm.
So, this book is full of lies. Things like that exist for a reason. And then you just have tons of Bungie isms that exist, like all the immense amount of marathon references. I could write an entire book on Destiny only talking about their references to other games. There's so much
Yeah.
content. There are things that are referenced in flavor text for bounties that you pick up from shacks that have to do with Marathon or Halo, and even even Myth. It's like, what? So anyway, you could
Yeah.
write an entire book that you could sit on your coffee table of all the Bungie isms. Probably even title it that.
Yeah.
Bungie isms.
Well, I ultimately hope that everyone is very excited to to know that even in the beginning of Final Shape, we don't really understand what the fuck the witness did in Lightfall. Because
Yeah,
that's what unless this happens next season, unless Ikora disappears this season or next season, like
yeah,
if season 4 of Lightfall is Ikora disappearing and then we go to find out where she is, that means that we
yeah.
just accidentally did something because she also doesn't know where they are. Or maybe she doesn't.
Right.
Maybe she does know actually. Because
Maybe she does know. Maybe she
yeah,
has had a thing in her mind the whole time.
yeah.
I mean, remember
Because
she's the leader of the Hidden, so they've
yeah.
got like a network.
Well, what I was gonna say is maybe she does know because maybe it's like, well, I'm here now, kiddo, wherever here is,
Yeah,
and then it cuts, and Ikora is like, oh, here is actually, and like we don't hear like we figured it all out, we know everything, but we can't say it.
yeah, yeah,
That would be cool. We didn't talk
yeah,
about Season of the Deep at all, and we are coming up at our time.
yeah. We got about 6 minutes left. I know. Well, I do enjoy fishing.
Oh my god, yeah, yeah. Let's talk about fishing. Let's talk about fishing. I fucking
Okay,
love the
okay.
fishing, except I hate how the fishing works.
Oh, I don't even know how it works, honestly, dude. I don't know how to catch better fish. I think I
Okay,
was thinking it had something to do with how fast your reaction time is when you
a
pull on
little
the
bit.
hook.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I'm really good at it, I get a legendary, but when
Yeah.
I'm not very fast, I get just commons and rares or whatever they're called. Um,
So if you
but
watch
I have yet to have
the
gotten
little,
exotic. I have not gotten exotic.
I've witnessed an exotic getting caught, and I got a triumph for catching an exotic that I did not catch.
Oh, what? You just have
Yeah.
to be with somebody who's getting one?
Yeah, to get a specific, there is a specific triumph for
Oh,
fishing that
damn
says
it.
catch an exotic, and I didn't catch it, but I still got it. I didn't get to put it in the aquarium because I didn't catch it,
Yeah.
so I didn't get the reward for it, but I got the
Isn't
triumph.
it
So
cool that the fish you catch are in your aquarium?
yeah, yeah, no, I love that when I went into the helm and I'm like, wait, we're underwater? Are we under Titan?
Yeah.
I was so confused, and I like went up and down
Yeah.
the
This
stairs
is the
like
aquarium.
three times trying to figure it out, and I was
Yeah.
just fucking laughing to myself because I was like, so Drifter's like, yeah, I'll help you out. I need an aquarium and a wet bar because there's a fucking bar there
Yeah, there's a fucking wet bar there,
with
dude.
a frame behind it. Like, are you kidding?
Yeah. Yeah. And like a little lounge area to chill out.
Yeah, yeah, he's like, yeah, yeah, this is my new pad. Like, this is where I'm hanging out. Like, I will help you, but it's gonna cost you.
It's
But
funny
so,
because I didn't know at first. It took me a second for somebody to point it out, but it's funny how all of the past artifacts and things that we've had from other seasonal content are inside your aquarium.
yeah,
That's pretty cool. Like the
so
spear from whatever that season was, the
risen,
word or the yeah, there's that's in there, and then
yeah,
the war mine triangle pyramid things in there, and
hmm.
the hammers in there, and oh, did you did you see that when you catch a frog, it's in there?
Oh well, yeah. What do
Yeah.
you mean when you catch a frog? Like when you catch a
Well,
frog fishing?
because you get fish, but you also catch a frog, and then there's like a lobster.
Yeah, yeah. There's lobsters. It's a servant
Yeah.
lobster. It's the pun on servant leader. Yeah. So
Oh
I
my
love the
god.
fishing, but so from my understanding, and I could be wrong about this. From my understanding, having a perfect catch does slightly increase your odds of getting a better fish. And it will say if you got
Oh
a perfect catch, like in your little kill feed, it's like, oh, perfect catch. And it's not hard to get a perfect catch. I'd say I'd get a perfect catch basically every time because it's got a good window for it.
yeah.
Um, but so then you and however many people are at the fishing hole, every time you catch a legendary fish or better, your fish focusing goes up a little bit. And it's got tiers where the fish start swarming. And as those tiers go up, you get more and more legendary fish and more exotic fish. And so,
Oh,
but you need bait to get these fish. So you
okay.
need to go there with a good amount of bait, and then you have to be there with people, and then you have to get lucky to get enough legendary fish to keep that
I
focusing
see.
going up. And this is what I hate about it. You have to be lucky enough to not have a public event spawn because it will take away your fishing hole.
Is that what people were talking about?
That's what I was talking about. I didn't see anyone else talking about it, but I was fucking livid. I had I we'd maxed out the focusing bar, and people were just fucking getting legendaries, legendaries, legendaries. Someone got an exotic. I had like 40 more bait. I'm like, I'm in this, man. Like I am getting something good today.
Oh, damn.
A spider tank came, and it's in the EDZ. A spider tank came across the fucking
Oh,
patrol.
yeah,
That's
that's why.
nowhere near the fishing hole. Despawns,
Well,
and I'm like,
just do it on Nessus because
well,
there's no public event over there.
there's two public events that spawn there.
There are?
Yeah, they have the drill
Right
and they have
where the fishing hole is?
the well, it's so like you're in the cistern. Public event
Uh,
spawns in the cistern, it goes away.
yeah. Oh,
So
son of a bitch.
yeah,
Even when you're fishing though, it will go
even when
away
you're
even
fishing,
in the middle of
it'll
your fish.
you can have a fish on the line and your dock will go away and you catch the fish and it's
That's
gone.
bullshit. That is
And I was like,
bullshit.
all right, let's knock out this public event, come back to the fishing hole because you can leave and
Yeah.
come back to the fishing hole and you'll keep your
Yeah.
focusing. Nope, resets it.
It's gone.
It's gone. All the effort that you and four strangers just made is gone. All the bait that you put in to get to that level, gone.
Oh, that sucks.
I had the final shape image up that entire time for fishing. I forgot to turn that off.
Oh,
I
it's
really
funny.
like fishing otherwise. It's very fun. It's a very just like, I need to kill a couple minutes waiting for my raid. Let's just go catch some blue fish and fucking load them up in the aquarium. I think it's a
Yeah.
great mini activity. Every game
Yeah,
should have fishing.
I agree.
Our
You can
next
pet the dog
episode,
again. You have fishing, all that.
our next episode will be on June 11th, and okay, that's good. Our next episode will be on June 11th, and we should be talking about some actual good impressions on Season of the Deep because we'll have a few weeks to get that story.
Yeah, and we might even have a book, right?
I I don't know. Isn't it? Is it more than 3 weeks?
Oh, maybe it is.
Like, I don't think we'll have a full book. If it's in the API, we can read it. I don't give a fuck about that. I have no idea if it's in the API. I imagine it isn't. I imagine Bungie is still being stingy on the API books.
Yeah, we got to
All right,
stretch it
everybody.
until. Bye.
Bye, everybody.